Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is a bit like medical detective work. We're analyzing a whole stack of sources that treat the human body, your skin, your eyes, your nails, as this incredibly sophisticated diagnostic canvas.
It is. It's constantly broadcasting these internal signals that, most of us just don't notice.
Right.
And this isn't just some vague concept. It's a foundational pillar of clinical medicine. For you to really get what we're talking about, you have to understand the basic premise. The outside of your body, the parts we can see, they directly reflect these intricate, sometimes life-threatening processes happening inside.
It's like an external feedback system.
A remarkable one, yes.
So our goal for you, our listener, is to leave this deep dive not just knowing what these key signs are, but really understanding the deep mechanism, the why behind them. We'll trace this all the way back to antiquity and then jump forward to how modern tech is changing everything.
And let's start with a really crucial point from the sources. While just looking at someone is, rarely the final word.
It's the first clue.
It's the triage, exactly. It helps you form a hypothesis. But sometimes there are these highly visible findings. They're called pathognomonic signs.
Pathognomonic.
And they are so specific they can almost stand as a diagnosis all by themselves. They're the body's loudest broadcasts.
Okay, let's unpack that with some history, because this is not a new idea, right? This technique of diagnosis through just, pure observation.
It's called inspection. And yes, it's one of the oldest medical practices we know of.
So we're talking ancient Greece.
Oh, absolutely. Greece, China, Egypt. They understood the body was this integrated system long before we had MRI machines.
They're just master observers.
They had to be. And the most chilling and famous historical example is detailed right in the Hippocratic corpus. It's called the Hippocratic facies.
Facies. Like the face.
The face, yes. It was a specific facial appearance described by the ancient Greeks as a sign that death was, imminent.
That sounds kind of vague. I mean, what did it actually look like? What were they seeing?
It was strikingly detailed. They noted things like sharply defined sunken eyes, a drawn, pinched nose, skin that was stretched tight and almost waxy.
Wow.
And the overall color was pale or leaden, often with cold extremities. It was the face of circulatory and organ collapse.
So that was observational medicine at its most raw.
At its most critical, identifying signs of systemic failure when you had no other tools.
That's incredibly vivid.
But
physiologically, why does this even work so well? I mean, why would a kidney problem show up on your fingertips?
Because the body is a fluid system. Everything is connected. The skin is our largest organ. It's the boundary layer.
Okay.
And it's just packed with blood vessels. It's constantly regenerating. And it's highly responsive to hormones. So when you have a systemic disease, inflammatory, infectious, whatever, it either dumps visible byproducts into the blood.
Which then show up on the surface.
Exactly. Or it compromises blood flow. Or triggers a big inflammatory response that always reaches the skin. The skin and nails are like high traffic ports.
So this is why it's not just a casual glance. The methodology is, it has to be rigorous.
It has to be.
It's the visual check for color changes, growths, but then it's also combined with palpation.
Right. Feeling for temperature, texture, moisture, checking for enlarged lymph nodes.
It's a whole multisensory process.
It is. Even odor. Some diseases produce very distinct scents. It's all about building a powerful early hypothesis.
Okay, let's move to the most revealing part of this canvas. The skin itself. And we have to start with color changes. They're like these immediate, non-negotiable red flags.
They are the fastest broadcast the body has. Take jaundice. That classic yellowing of the skin and, crucially, the sclerae, the whites of the eyes.
You can't miss it.
You can't. And the mechanism is key.
So what's causing that specific yellow color?
It's from a buildup of bilirubin. It's a yellow breakdown product of old red blood cells.
Oh, okay.
Normally, the liver processes this stuff and gets rid of it. So if you see jaundice, it's a huge sign that the liver is either dysfunctional, hepatitis cirrhosis, or there's a blockage.
Like a gallstone.
Exactly. A gallstone blocking the bile duct. The bilirubin just backs up into the blood and literally stains the tissues.
So if yellow means a blockage or a processing problem, then what about the opposite? I'm thinking of that severe bluish tint, cyanosis.
Cyanosis signals a critical failure in the body's most basic process. Oxygen delivery.
Right.
It's caused by an excess of deoxygenated hemoglobin in the blood. You see it most clearly in the lips, tongue, or fingertips.
And seeing that is an emergency.
Immediate medical intervention. It means severe respiratory issues, advanced pneumonia, COPD, or critical cardiac failure. The blood just isn't getting enough oxygen.
And then there's pallor. the profound paleness, losing that normal pinkish hue?
Pallor is typically just screaming anemia. It's not just whiteness. It's a visible reduction in the hemoglobin circulating near the skin's surface. A quick look at the inner eyelid.
Conjunctival pallor.
Right. It can be a surprisingly sensitive indicator of significant anemia.
Okay, and finally, erythema, which is general redness. I mean, sunburn is redness, but we're talking about specific patterns. The classic one has to be the butterfly rash.
The Meller rash, yes. This specific symmetrical redness spread across the cheeks and the bridge of the nose is highly suggestive of systemic lupus erythematosus.
Lupus.
The thinking is that immune complexes, these clumps of antibodies and antigens, get deposited in the skin's blood vessels and trigger inflammation. It's a very visual signal that the body's immune system is attacking itself.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Moving from general color to these small, specific lesions that tell us about metabolic problems. Let's talk about those cholesterol deposits you sometimes see around the eyes.
Those are called xanthomas, or specifically xanthelasma if they're around the eyes.
Okay.
They're yellowish, usually flat deposits of fat-laden cells. They might seem harmless, but they are direct, visible indicators of hyperlipidemia.
So extremely high cholesterol. But hang on, if I see a tiny deposit around the eye, how do I know it's a serious problem and not just part of getting older?
That is a great question. In older adults, they can be benign, but when they show up in younger people, say under 40, or if you see larger ones over joints like the elbows or knees,
Then it's a major red flag.
it's a powerful indicator of a genetically driven severe hypercholesterolemia. You are literally seeing the cholesterol deposits that signal a huge risk of atherosclerosis and premature heart disease.
You can see heart disease risk right on the skin. Incredible. Now let's move to a marker for insulin resistance. Acanthosis nigricans.
Ah, yes. This is one of the most powerful skin markers for metabolic syndrome. It shows up as these thick, velvety, and hyperpigmented patches, right. Most often in the skin folds of the neck, armpits, or groin.
So what's the mechanism there? Why the specific darkening and thickening? It's not just friction.
No, and this insight is crucial. It's not friction. When you have high levels of circulating insulin, which happens when the body is resistant to it, that insulin starts to cross-react with other receptors on skin cells. Specifically, receptors for something called insulin-like growth factor 1, and that tells those skin cells to just rapidly proliferate and darken.
So the body is showing you on the outside that its insulin system is struggling.
Exactly. You see it frequently with type 2 diabetes and polycystic ovarian syndrome or PCOS.
That detail that's exactly why we do this deep dive. Okay, the sources also get into some traumatic signs of serious autoimmune conditions. Tell us about dermatomyositis.
Dermatomyositis is a nasty autoimmune disorder that often targets muscles, but it creates very specific signs on the skin.
What do you look for?
You look for a heliotrope rash, that's a sort of purple-violet discoloration on the eyelids. And crucially, you also look for something called Gottron's papules.
Gottron's papules.
They are raised, reddish-purple lesions that appear precisely over the knuckles. And finding these is vital because, in many cases, dermatomyositis is associated with an underlying cancer.
Wow. And then what about just texture? I mean, there's scleroderma, the hardening of the skin, but even just persistent itching, pruritus can be a clue, right?
Absolutely. While, itching is common, persistent, intense itching that doesn't respond to normal treatments is a major systemic clue.
So it's not just dry skin.
No. When you look at the whole picture, this relentless itching often signals things like chronic renal failure, where toxins build up and irritate nerve endings, or certain liver diseases. The skin is a biofeedback loop for toxic burden.
Let's pivot to the extremities now, because the hands, nails, and eyes provide just an astonishing amount of focused information. The first sign every clinician checks for on the hands is clubbing.
Clubbing is a very serious finding. Even though it's painless, it's that distinctive bulbous enlargement of the fingertips.
And the angle of the nail changes, right?
The angle increases exactly where the nail meets the skin.
But why does this overgrowth actually happen in the fingers? What's the mechanism?
It's all tied to chronic hypoxia, long-term low oxygen.
Yep.
The lack of oxygen causes changes in the local blood vessels, leading to massive dilation. This then increases the release of growth factors, which tells the connective tissue under the nail to just grow.
And what's that associated with?
Really serious things. Chronic lung diseases like lung cancer or cystic fibrosis, severe heart disease, or even advanced inflammatory bowel disease like Crohn's. It's a physical sign of a failure in gas exchange.
And the nails themselves are like these tiny diagnostic billboards recording past stresses. Let's start with koilonychia.
Koilonychia, or spoon nails. The nails are concave, literally spoon-shaped. It's a classic sign of iron deficiency anemia.
So the lack of iron affects the nail structure.
It affects the integrity of the nail plate, causing that depression. A simple look gives you a strong lead on a key nutritional deficit.
And I find this next idea really compelling. The nail acting as a kind of microscopic history book. Tell us about Bow's lines.
Bow's lines are these horizontal grooves etched across the nail plate. Each line represents a temporary but severe halt in the nail's growth.
So it's like tree rings for the body.
In a way, yes. It tells the clinician when weeks or months ago, a major systemic stressor happened. We're talking about a heart attack, a massive infection, any severe shock that momentarily shuts down non-essential tissue growth.
You can literally read a patient's recent medical history in the ridges of their nail.
You can. And another subtle sign under the nails is splinter hemorrhages. Tiny, thin, reddish-brown lines that look like a splinter.
I think I've seen those.
They can be from simple trauma, sure, but multiple or persistent ones can suggest endocarditis, a serious infection of the heart valves, where tiny clots break off and get stuck in the nail capillaries.
Okay, moving up to the eyes. Beyond the obvious yellowing from jaundice, you mentioned arcus senilis.
Arcus senilis is that white or gray ring that forms around the iris. It's a lipid deposit.
I've definitely seen that in older people.
And it's very common and totally benign in older adults. But if you see it in a young person, say under 45, it is a powerful signal of high circulating lipids, potentially an inherited high cholesterol problem.
And then there's the really dramatic sign of Graves' disease.
That would be exophthalmos, or proptosis. The unnatural protrusion, the bulging of the eyes forward.
Right.
This is caused by autoimmune inflammation that makes the tissues behind the eyeball swell and push the eye forward. It is the cardinal visible sign of Graves' disease, severe overactive thyroid.
So zooming out from these specific features, the overall appearance of what the sources call a general habitus offers these powerful, big-picture clues.
Oh, absolutely. The overall appearance is the first thing a clinician assesses. It immediately helps categorize the illness. Think of Cushingoid facies.
The moon face.
A characteristic rounded moon face, yes. Often with facial redness, thin skin, and excess facial hair. That points directly to Cushing syndrome, too much cortisol hormone.
Or on the other end of the spectrum, that profoundly wasted look you see with the most advanced illnesses.
That's cachexia, the profound loss of both fat and muscle mass. It leads to that visibly skeletal appearance. While it's nonspecific, it's a powerful hallmark of advanced chronic diseases, whether it's cancer, AIDS, or end-stage heart failure.
So we've covered a wealth of these highly specific signs. But we have to talk about the limitations here. I mean, is this ancient art of inspection now mostly just an interesting historical footnote?
That's a fair challenge. The biggest limitation is the lack of specificity.
Right.
Clubbing has, 10 possible causes? Pallor could be anemia, or it could just be that you're cold. The external view generates the hypothesis, but it rarely confirms it.
And there's the problem of subjectivity, right? One doctor in a well-lit office might see something another misses in a chaotic ER.
Precisely. And the most insidious limitation is what we call the latent phase, meaning many serious diseases, early cancers, asymptomatic high blood pressure, can be well advanced internally before they produce any visible external sign. Relying only on what you can see can cause dangerous delays.
Because the external exam is crucial, but it can't stand alone.
It cannot.
And that sets the stage perfectly for the future. Modern tech isn't replacing the clinician's eye, it's augmenting it.
It's creating a synergy. The technology fills in the gaps of our human perception. Take hyperspectral imaging. This is truly revolutionary.
Okay, tell us how it works. What does it see that we can't?
It analyzes light across the whole electromagnetic spectrum, not just the visible part. So it can detect extremely subtle color shifts and variations in oxygenation deep beneath the skin's surface that are totally invisible to us. It can spot early peripheral vascular disease long before the patient feels anything, just by analyzing the light reflected off their skin.
So the body is broadcasting signals we literally can't see, but a machine can catch them instantly. And then, of course, there's artificial intelligence.
AI is rapidly closing that subjectivity gap you mentioned. Algorithms are being trained on millions of images of skin conditions.
Right.
And AI is already showing accuracy that rivals and sometimes exceeds experienced dermatologists in classifying complex skin cancers just from a photo.
And it's moving beyond just lesions, isn't it?
Oh, yes. Similar AI is being trained to analyze subtle facial features, the distance between the eyes, the shape of the jaw, to detect the unique patterns of rare genetic syndromes.
Just from a photo on a smartphone.
Just from a photo. The speed and accessibility of that is a game changer for screening.
So where does this all leave us? Can we diagnose disease just by looking at the outside of the body?
The answer is still a resounding yes, but with nuance. The exterior is a profoundly informative landscape. It is the critical first step. It's the triage, the highest yield source for generating a good hypothesis.
It tells the skilled clinician where to look next.
Exactly. It can eliminate dozens of possibilities in just a few seconds.
So the lesson here is that the external exam always has to guide the clinician toward those confirmatory tests. The blood work, the biopsies, the imaging.
Right. The future isn't about the ancient art surviving alone. It's about that synergistic combination of the skilled, observant human eye.
Informed by 5,000 years of practice.
And the enhanced perception and analytical power of this new technology.
Which leaves us with a final, provocative thought for you to consider.
If AI can detect these subtle signs of disease with something like hyperspectral imaging signs that are literally invisible to the human eye, things we are evolutionarily incapable of seeing, does the art of observation finally transition fully and completely into the science of non-invasive measurement? And what are the implications for accessible, immediate diagnosis when the body broadcasts signals that only machines can truly interpret?